Hello world, these are the adventures of Super Chick, and I'm Cecelia Sterling, and I have a story to share. And it's a little funny because we've been talking about new beginnings, and I'm feeling stuck in the middle. You know the song, Stuck in the Middle with You. It's a tough place to be. And I remember during my month-long trip to Italy, crying on the staircase 2 weeks in. And my dear friend saying to me, "Is it just too much Italy?" And I said, "Sì, it's troppo Italy." And the beginning of the trip was so spectacular. And the end of the trip was just, I wanted to savor every minute because I loved it there so much. But that day, after that giant lunch, after the giant dinner the night before, on a really hot day, too much pasta, even though it's delicious, and too much of not understanding the words being said at the table, and too much hyper trying to navigate and be present and enjoy. It's too much. It's too much. And I'm in this is too much for me moment right now. I'm going to just try my best to explain all the parts. But, if you think about reality TV, it's very formulaic, right? And there are these like moments where it's kind of like cool and people are being introduced or situations coming together. And then there's this dramatic part. Ta-da! And I'm in the like meal biter situation just this past week. So I have come to the conclusion or end, or I'll just say end, of the time I allotted to live off of the money from the sale of my retail space. And I've now moved into the time and space where I was supposed to have a new revenue stream, new level of income, new job, whatever it's going to be. I'm sort of living on borrowed time, living on borrowed money right now. And it is triggering all of my financial fear, which is potentially my biggest fear. I talk about that in my IRS episode. I am in it. Like that, if that's a volcano, it's erupting right now. And I am so scared. And I have this, there's a lot of things going on. So I'm feeling really scared. I'm getting a lot of support from the universe. Lots of stories about what it's like to be in the middle, not know what's coming next, especially on an adventure. And I have a real thought around, like, if I'm on a road trip, like one of the reels I see on Instagram is this like waving road and you keep not being able to see around the corner, and you're from the perspective of the driver, and it's beautiful. Everything around the car is gorgeous, mountains and rivers and sunset. And I think, if I was truly on an adventure, believe in my own stories, then I'm excited about what's around the bend, right? And it's one of the ways I cope. Fact check, and let's just play around with the emotions a little bit. If I was excited about what was coming, is there any chance I could feel excited about what's coming right now? My next job is going to be amazing. I'm going to work with wonderful people. I'll be paid well. I'll enjoy the work. My enthusiasm will be welcome, and I will be helpful. And everybody's happy. I'm happy to be helping. They're happy to be helped, right? It's just around the bend, or maybe a few bends. And maybe I have to activate a few new muscles or learn a few lessons before I show up for my first day. But if I pretend I've already gotten my letter and I'm starting next week, I feel completely fine. It's when I'm not sure who that is or where that is or when that is or how much money I'm going to receive that I am freaking out. So I'm sure you've been in a similar situation at some point. We all face our fears, right? So I am in this fear, and find out my husband's job may be in jeopardy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And now, a week later, I understand that it's not. And a few things were activated during that big, giant, scary headline or episode that will lead to some things that need to get solved in his life and in our lives for longer term happiness and thriving. But everything got brought up in this eruption, right? And it really was one of those like freeze frame, like I've told you before, I'm really good at futuring. I'm really good at imagining all the different ways this could come together. Obviously, it will all be even better than I can imagine. It's going to be so glorious. But there are some actual steps that need to be taken today that I may or may not be taking. Mostly because I'm scared stiff. Like my power animal is a cheetah. Very beautiful, very fast, very fierce, sleek, can turn on a dime. Scaredy cat is the shadow side, right? Don't we all have that, like, this is where my power is, and the exact opposite is that's where my fear is, or my kryptonite, if you will, to use a superhero term. So I'm in it, and I start really noticing some of my coping skills. One, is there literally a tiger in the room, to use another cat reference, that is going to eat me and my child? No. Facts are that's not true. Do I have enough money in my bank account for today? And I'm even going to be as bold as to say tomorrow. Yes. Are there people that I could call for help if needed? Yes. Worst case scenario, like, did you ever watch This Is Us? And the couple would just talk out loud, absolute worst case scenario. We have to sell our house. Actually, not that horrible of a thing. Need to move in with my mom. To be honest, that could be kind of fun. So as I take care of my inner child that is completely freaking out and address all the actual issues at hand today, and whatever, solutions I can come up with them today, to process and support myself as I am feeling very scared. I'm feeling terrified. I'm not panicking. I used to panic. So I've grown into this phase of life where I'm not completely panicked. I'm just feeling very scared. And I am noticing that the universe is sending me all these positive messages. Friends are saying very supportive things. Lillian is choosing superhero books at the library. Love that girl. She, at one point, we were jumping on our trampoline, which is feeling really good to just move my body. And she really wants to hear this one specific song that Johnny sings from the Sing 2 soundtrack. And we hear several songs we love on the way, and we allow for some of them, and then we skip past the others. And ultimately, we hear the song, and Lillian's like, wait for it, Mom. Wait for it. Wait for it. I'm just like, how precious are you? And then we hear the song, and then there's this incredible message for me in the song, and I'm jumping, and I'm just allowing it to be. And it kind of triggers that, power animal metaphor for all the things that are going on, because in Sing and Sing 2, all the characters are different animals, and they're all just getting it figured out for themselves. They've all got issues that need to be addressed. They all have circumstances in their lives that are not ideal. They're all showing up based on a personal drive, a need, a passion, a talent, and they're working together, right? And I at some point talked to my coach, and she references her dad in a story about, and she uses the word adventure. I'm hearing a lot of adventure, like I said. And she says, when I used to be adventuring with my dad in the woods, I would ask as a kid, at the next crossway, are we going left or right? And she's like, I would ask the question a lot. He always responded, let's see when we get there. Let's see when we get there. It's kind of the divide and conquer. Like, let's take this giant narrative, this giant fear, this giant set of emotions, compartmentalize into one step at a time, one decision at a time. Life is unfolding all around us. I believe the universe is working with me. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow that changes some of the next steps. Sometimes it's hard for me to imagine how incredible the gifts could be. So I just keep opening space for them. I'm meditating as much as possible, even though my mind is really busy and it's hard for me to fully get to a meditative space. I'm getting as close as I can. I'm using my mantras. And I am not panicking. So that in and of itself is huge, right? Well, one of the books Lillian gets from the library is, and I take a lot of the books that they have pulled up and put on the top shelf, like facing out. So you see the illustration and the title. And I believe that they feel that's a great book. And so I grabbed one. Actually, Lillian didn't choose this one. It's called Hope is a Hop by Katrina Moore and Melissa Ely, I think. And I'm reading it to her. So I am the messenger, right? Like, I'm the receiver of the message, but I'm also the messenger. And that's a big part of why I'm here having a show on YouTube, is to share the sitting in the feeling, the coping with it, and then the reflection and all the glimmers that exist that go on that support us in putting one foot in front of the other and continuing on our adventure. So this is one that rings so true and beautiful and strong for me. I'm just so appreciative. When you're waist high in weeds and you're worried you'll drown, hope's a soft heartbeat, so loud that it drums. A new place discovered from following crumbs. And we talk a lot about the universe dropping breadcrumbs, and I have used those words to describe the glimmers. It's not exactly the right language for me, but you get the gist. And I go to my workout class on Tuesday morning, and it's really hard. It's awesome, but it's really hard, and I'm loving every song. And during the rest periods between the strength training episodes, I'm dancing. Like, it's really hard to move that one muscle over and over and over again, and it gets fatigued. But once you're resting that muscle and you go to use your other muscle, like, you're kind of at the beginning again. In the middle of the class, it's really hard. But there are these moments of kind of getting to the beginning or getting to the end of something, which to me is why that version of training works well for me, and maybe for others too. Like 30 seconds on, rest 10, 30 seconds on, rest 10, 30 seconds on, rest 10, 3 sets, new set of. So you have all of these beginning, middles, and ends all throughout the workout. I'm just realizing that right now. It's a real good metaphor. It's helped me wrap this up. But while I'm in the workout class, it's toward the end, and the coach, who is a fantastic example of where I would like to get to with my physique, very strong. And she seems so grounded in her body, which is a certain version of strength that I'm working toward. And she says, Cecelia, I just have to say, you have had a smile on your face this whole entire class. Get it? Like, no sassy looks, no dirty looks. And, she's yelling it to all the class, and one of them yells out, like, teacher's pet or whatever. And I am so proud that while I am doing something so hard, forging new muscles, building a new aspect of myself, planting new seeds, grounding, strengthening, expanding, I have a effing smile on my face. And it is a genuine, authentic, joy and happiness. And in that moment, I realized, as hard as these last couple of weeks have been, and as scared as I felt, I have still experienced so much joy and happiness. I have come to moments, especially with my daughter, and even with my husband, where we had to write a very challenging email, very carefully articulated. That thing where you're like, I have 1,000 things to say and really big emotions, and I am forging a message that honors my vulnerability, states what I want and need, respects the circumstances, and has just enough emotion to be authentic and not too much to take me out of a professional space. So that perfect personal professional balance, which ultimately is your truth. What an exercise to go through together as a team with all of these big fears, surrounding us like a hurricane of fear. And when we sent off that email, and when Elle started school for the first day, and when we read this book, there were all of these really beautiful moments wrapped up in this layered cake, or as my Uncle Ned calls an SHIT shit sandwich. Some things in life are just a shit sandwich. You gotta eat it. Their new muscles were being strengthened. And while I may not have a six-pack currently, I have a really strong foundation and core that I am actively strengthening and using, hopefully, to make the world a better place. Just even if that's by showing up a better version of my own self. And I saw on Instagram this morning, and I'll share it, feels important. The bigger the glory, the better the story. And with that, I'll say ciao for now. I'm Cecelia Sterling, and these are the adventures of Super Chick.